I found out that my wife is cheating on me, but she and Josh don't know that I know it. Josh, by the way, is, or was, my best friend. I know, it's a cliché. But clichés become clichés because they happen so often. I had no idea how to deal with this. The thing is, I couldn't understand why he had my wife. Don't get me wrong, my wife is definitely a beauty. She's in her 30s, and even after 2 kids, she looks damn sexy in a bikini, but his wife Carla is just as hot, if not hotter. Carla is quite tall, standing at 5 feet 7 inches, with red hair that hangs down to the middle of her back, and green eyes that seem to be able to see deep into the soul. I found out that her measurements were 36, 23, 34, and I won't deny that she turned me on. After I found out about Josh and Heather, I did nothing for several weeks, trying to decide what to do. I loved Heather and wondered if there was any way to save our marriage. It seemed unlikely, but I couldn't know for sure until we talked. On Friday, I decided to meet with her, but had to postpone it until Monday. Why wait 2 days? My wife received a call from a very sick friend who needed help, and she rushed to help. I had no doubt that if I called Josh and asked if he wanted to play golf on Saturday, Carla would come up and tell me that Josh was not at home and had gone somewhere for the weekend. My parents had taken the kids to their lake house, so being away from my wife and kids meant I was going to have a quiet weekend alone, and it might very well be the last quiet weekend I'll ever have. On the way home, I stopped, bought a case of beer, and firmly decided that by Sunday evening, all 24 bottles would be empty. When I got home, I put on shorts and a t-shirt and went to the kitchen. Dinner this evening will be simple. I opened a package of hot dogs and put them in a pot to boil, chopped an onion, and took a can of baked beans out of the pantry. I poured the beans into the pan, put it on the stove, and opened a second can of beer. I was rummaging through the refrigerator for mustard when the doorbell rang. I opened the door and saw Carla standing there. She was wearing a tank top but didn't seem to have a bra. She had slippers on her feet. The nipples pressed hard on the t-shirt, and I instantly became more aroused. Are you busy? Partially. I cook dinner and drink beer. Do you mind if I join? Not in the least. I could use some company, I said, stepping aside and letting her in. We went into the kitchen, and she sat down at the table. I knew she didn't drink beer, so I opened a bottle of Merlot and poured her a glass. Dinner is nothing special, I said. Hot dogs and baked beans. Quite a simple thing. Fits. The hot dogs were boiling and the beans were bubbling, so I turned off the heat, moved the pans to the cool side of the stove, and took 2 plates from the cupboard. I handed one to Carla. She cooked herself 2 hot dogs and put some beans on her plate. We sat down to eat, and I asked, "What brought you here? Do you know where Heather is?" She went to help a sick friend. I wonder when this happened. When did that happen? This is Josh's disease. He looked damn healthy when he left the house. You know Josh and Heather are cheating on us, right? And that they are now in room 130 at Arrowhead Lodge. I didn't know where they were, but I've known for a couple of weeks that she's cheating on me. How did you know? I found a condom wrapper in his pants pocket when I was doing laundry. We are trying to get pregnant and don't use condoms. But since he cheats, I decided not to give birth to his child. I don't want to be a single mother if I get divorced, so I used part of my father's inheritance to hire a private investigator. They get together for long lunches, and when he calls and tells me he's working late, he's usually working on Heather. How do you know? I was in the basement working on a bookcase that I'm making now. The phone rang and I picked up the phone in the basement. Heather must have picked up the phone on the 2nd floor a second before me, and I heard her say the word lover just as I put the phone to my ear, so I listened calmly as Josh told her that they would have to miss his usual long lunch at the Marriott because he has an important meeting. I had to listen to her say that she would miss her and that he would have to work hard to make amends next time. And you didn't do anything? I just can't decide what to do. Now, I have decided to meet her when she gets home and see what happens next. Well, what are you going to do? You'll understand in a few minutes. I looked at her in confusion. What do I understand? She stood up, came over, and sat on my lap. I see the way you look at me, and I know damn well that if we weren't married, you'd be after me. We may both still be married, but we are no longer obligated to be faithful to Josh and Heather. They have freed us from that obligation. She hugged me and, having reached my manhood, began to excite me. I moved to get more comfortable. I looked at her in amazement. She leaned down, and her lips met mine. Carla broke the kiss and said, "I'm going to take revenge to the end." Even though we decided to have a baby, I managed to come up with excuses not to have sex during my fertile period, just in case I went to the doctor and got a diaphragm. How bad do you want revenge on Josh? Why do you ask? I intend to take full revenge. I am currently in my most fertile state and my diaphragm is in my purse. This means... That's exactly what it means. Carla was right. It would be full-fledged revenge if Josh raised my child thinking it was his child. I smiled. While caressing Carla, I discovered that she was not wearing underwear. She moaned and whispered, "Oh yes." I broke the kiss and said, "On Heather's side of the bed. That's where I want you. On Heather's side of the bed." She got up from my lap and said, "Come on." We both hurriedly undressed when we got to the bedroom. Carla naked was stunning, and she had something I'd never seen before except in men's magazines. She was completely shaved. I already mentioned that Heather was a beauty, but why Josh would fuck my wife when he had a woman like Carla was completely beyond me. Carla seemed to be thinking along the same lines. She looked at my naked body with puzzlement, and when I asked her what she was thinking about, she replied, "I just do not understand. Your manly tool is vastly superior to Josh's, so why does Heather want to fuck my husband when she has you and this tool at home and ready to go? I don't think this makes any sense." Doesn't matter. You are here now, and others do not exist now. You are absolutely right. Take me to bed, and take me. I pointed to Heather's side. Carla smiled and said, "You take me on Heather's side, and then we'll go to me, and I'll take you on Josh's side." Agreed. She lay down on the bed and demanded hard sex. I did what the lady asked. She moaned as we followed each other like two animals in the heat. She begged me not to stop and to continue forever. Her words drove me crazy, and I wanted to do everything for her. The two of us reached the peak, and it was enchanting. We both started sweating, and I fell on the bed next to her. Carla propped herself up on her elbow and looked down at me. I cannot believe this. I just can't believe it. Heather may be having it, but she wants my husband. You and I have the rest of the evening, all of tomorrow and part of Sunday, and when we're done, you won't care if Heather comes home. Having rested a little, we played the second round and it was no worse than the first. Carla asked, "You won't send me home, will you?" "Stupid girl," I said, pulling her towards me. We fell asleep hugging each other. This morning I woke up before Carla and, looking at her, I couldn't help but think that my betrayal with Josh's wife had lowered me to the same level as Heather. Of course, this can be attributed to Heather's betrayal, which freed me from my vows. What she did, I can do too, right? What's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? But for me, the main thing was that I cheated on my marriage. I couldn't pretend to be moral in my conflict with Heather. True, she didn't know that I had cheated, but I knew it. I didn't notice that Carla was awake until she said, "You look thoughtful. What are you thinking about?" I told her. She replied, "I made the same promises you made when I married Josh. So I guess that makes me a liar too, but I don't think so. Josh made the same vows I did, and then broke them. To me, this means that we had a contract, and if we were doing law, if I remember correctly from my business law classes, Josh was in breach of the contract, and the contract could be declared void. I know marriages aren't treated that way, but that doesn't change the fact that Josh and I had a contract, and he broke it with me. Which means, at least for me, that I'm no longer obligated to honor it. You should look at your marriage the same way. You don't deceive your beloved. You only do what her breach of contract allows you to do. Enough about this. Feed me, and then we should go to my place and reconsecrate the side of the bed where Josh slept and work on getting me pregnant. She started to excite me, and then we took off. If she wasn't pregnant by the time we fell asleep at her house, it wasn't because we didn't try hard enough. In the morning, she asked when the children would be home, and I replied that it would be around 6. She fed me steak and eggs for breakfast, telling me that I would need energy if I was going to do anything nice for her that day. We parted ways around 4, so I could head home and be there in case my parents arrived earlier than expected. Before I returned home, Carla asked me if I had made my decision, and I admitted that I had not. Are you a good enough actor to pretend that everything is fine? I don't know. Why is this necessary? Because, in my opinion, the best revenge is to continue doing what we did over the weekend. I want to continue until I get pregnant. Besides, you have to think about your children. Divorce will tear you away from them because here, the courts always give custody to the mother. You might be able to see them every weekend, but that would only be if Heather wasn't too mad at you to find some reason for you not being able to see them. My advice is to put up with this bitch. Live as usual, except that you and I will have wild sex every chance we get. I doubt it, Carla. Sooner or later, the traitors will be caught. If they catch us, it will reduce our chances of maintaining a high level in any conflicts. We caught them because of stupid mistakes. You found out about Heather because they were both stupid enough to use home phones to communicate. I found out about this because Josh was so sloppy that he brought the evidence home in his pants pocket. We will not give this kind of chance. We'll buy a couple of track phones at Walmart and use them to keep in touch, and to keep our spouses from accidentally finding them, we'll leave them on our desks. We will always know when they meet, and we will get together at the same time. No, we can't do that. If Heather calls and says she has to work late, I'll have to babysit, and if they do it at lunchtime, we won't be able to either because I can rarely take a long lunch. You sometimes work late, don't you? When you do this, she will have to be home to look after the children. I play cards with a few girlfriends from college every Wednesday night, and I sometimes stop for drinks after work with the people I work with, and Josh is used to it. Another thing we can do is tap into our phone lines so we know what they are talking about. Are you in game? You've thought of everything, haven't you? Maybe I missed something, but if we both work together, I think we can cover all sides. Are you sure you want this? I'm absolutely sure. As I told you at the very beginning, I want to get back at Josh. I gave him everything I have, and he stabbed me in the back. I spoil this son of a bitch to death, and he cheats on me. There's no way in hell I'm going to let it slide. My idea of perfect revenge is to let him raise another man's child. And what could be sweeter than having that child's father, the husband of the woman he's cheating with, in his bed? I also want revenge. I think I can take revenge after seeing how this asshole raises my child, but I'm not sure that I can pretend to be a loving husband for a wife who cheats on me. You will be stimulated by your mistress, right? Over the last 48 hours, you seem to have really enjoyed what I gave you. You can have as much sex as you want, at any time and for as long as you want me. You know that such an offer is damn hard to refuse. I certainly hope so, and that's not all. Josh wants 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and I want them both to have the same dad. What if the first child is a girl? I know he will want a son. Are you ready to keep trying? Yes, until we get caught. We just have to make sure that doesn't happen. Yes, and one last thing. Can you act naturally around Josh? It will be hard not to grin knowing that I will try my best to give him a child to raise, but I think I can handle it. I think I'll stay after work with the girls on Tuesday. What a coincidence. On Tuesday I will work late. My parents dropped the kids off at 6:30 and said they hadn't eaten yet, so I took them to Mickey's and wasn't surprised when they said they wanted a happy meal. After we ate and came home, Heather asked where we were and said sharply, "Why didn't you call me and ask if I wanted to have dinner with you?" You didn't tell me when you'd be back. You didn't call me on my cell phone and didn't say that you were back, I answered just as sharply. She gave me an angry look and went to greet the children. While Heather put the kids to bed, I started looking into it. I learned how to tap a phone line using a voice recorder and decided to buy 1 or 2 on the way home from work the next day. I would buy 2 to bet not only on my line, but also on Josh's line. I'll have to call Carla and make an arrangement. I noticed that Heather didn't shower before bed. She may have showered before returning home, but then again, perhaps she didn't. When Heather went to bed, I cited an upset stomach and told her that maybe we could have sex the next day. On Monday at 3:20, my secretary told me that Mrs. Carla Marvis wanted to see me, and I asked Shelley to let Carla in. Carla came in, closed the door behind her, came up to me and kissed me. "It's a pity that your secretary is sitting outside your door. If she weren't there, I would have locked the door and you could have had me right here on your desk. If you can wait 10 minutes, she'll go home at 3:30. Wow, I was just kidding, but I can easily kill 10 minutes. She opened her purse, took out her cell phone, handed it to me and said that she had already written down her number in it. The plan for tomorrow is this. At lunchtime, I'll run to the Marriott and rent a room. I chose the Marriott because to get to the rooms, you have to go inside and walk down a hallway. No outside doors, so anyone could see us coming in. I'll call you and give you the room number. I'll finish work at 4:30 and go straight to my room. When you get there, go to a bar and have a drink. And if anyone there recognizes and sees you, they will think that you just stopped for a drink on the way home. After drinking, you come to the room where I will wait for you. So how? Sounds like a great plan. On the way home, I'll pick up what we need to tap our phones. When will it be convenient for me to come and do this? It's already been done. I went online and found out how to do it, and there is a voice recorder I can use. At that moment, Shelley stuck her head through the door and said, "I'm leaving. See you in the morning." When the door closed, Carla stood up to lock the door. It was quick, no-frills sex, and we both reached our peak. She said, "This will keep me going until tomorrow, but you better come back prepared for a long and energetic evening. Maybe you should take some vitamins." On the way home, I stopped at a radio station and bought 2 tape recorders and 6 extra cassettes. I took a second tape recorder to listen to recordings in my office. I will save the tapes, which contain something of the 2 lovers, until the day I tell the judge the reasons for the divorce. When I returned home, Heather had already prepared dinner and brought wine, which was a good sign that she was in a loving mood, and I was surprised by this. She spent the weekend having sex with her lover, and now she comes home wanting more, transformed. Was she a nymphomaniac, or was she simply enjoying her ignorant, as it seemed to her, husband after being with her lover? Maybe someday I will find the answer to this question. Sex with Heather was always good, and she loved doing it all. If Carla was being honest, and not just playing to my ego when she said I was bigger than Josh, I have to wonder what he had that Heather thought I lacked. Another question that I may someday get an answer to. When dinner was over and the kids were parked in front of the electronic nanny, Heather said, "You know you have work tonight, right?" "About? And why is this?" "You need to make up for what you missed last night." "I will do everything in my power. You are always amazing, my love." I wanted to say, "Then why are you cheating on me with Josh?" but remained silent. While Heather read to the children, I went down to the basement, found where the phone line was, went into it, and connected the recording. Heather doesn't leave for work until an hour after I do, and I think that's when she and Josh will talk. I could be wrong about this. Heather had a cell phone, and of course they could talk on her work phone while she was at work. I was betting that the call I overheard was a sign that they were talking while she was home. We did it 3 times that night, which was a rare occurrence for us. We had sex 3 or 4 times a week, but usually only peaked once, although sometimes twice. Here's another thing to think about. The warning bell rang just after we finished our 3rd time. We were lying next to each other when Heather said, "Have you thought about the fact that we could have another child?" "Not real," I said, wondering if this had something to do with Josh. "I'm actually toying with the idea of getting a vasectomy so you can get off the pill and we'll still be safe." "Why don't you want more?" "We gave birth to Mike and Anna so soon after the wedding that we didn't have the opportunity to go somewhere and see anything. Now we are still young enough for this when Mike and Anna become independent. Young children will rule this out. Besides, right now we need the income from your work. We will be hurt by your leaving work due to pregnancy." I had very bad thoughts running through my head. I'm sure Heather knew that Carla and Josh had decided to try for a baby. Did Heather want to get Josh's first child before Carla got him? Was there something Heather had against Carla? Or was it just Heather trying to lay claim to her lover? Either way, it made me think that I couldn't carry out Carla's plan. I think I'm going to have to leave Heather pretty damn soon. And then a very, very bad thought came into my head. Were Mike and Anna even mine? I had to find out. I fell into a very restless sleep. The next day, after a grueling session in room 202 of the Marriott Hotel, I expressed my concerns to Carla. "I can't even imagine what you should do," said Carla. "Should I talk to her about Josh now, before she gets pregnant? Of course, she may already be pregnant and getting ready to throw the baby at you. I know what I would do, but I'm not a man, and I'm not you. What would you do?" "I would just tell her that I don't want any more children, and just in case I would wear a condom until I get a vasectomy. If she does get pregnant, that's when I'll have a confrontation. I'd say we probably need a DNA test to find out if it was mine or Josh's. This should make her thrash around. If I get a vasectomy, it will ruin our revenge plan. Just don't do this until I'm pregnant. It will be a failure because I want all my children to have the same father. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe Heather was just feeling you out. You said you didn't want to, and that would make her say no. We'll just never know until she comes up to you and tells you the rabbit died." She looked at her watch and said, "We have a couple more chances for you to make me a mother." I stopped on the way home and bought a bunch of condoms, and that night when Heather wanted sex, I pulled out one of the condoms and started putting it on. Why else is this? I decided to use them until I get a vasectomy. I really don't want any more children. Well, take it off. I hate this feeling. I'll stay on the pill and use spermicide until I can adjust to the diaphragm. This way, we will be completely safe. You hate feeling them, I thought as I finished rolling it. Heather was a virgin when we got married, and I never used a rubber band with her. When did she realize she didn't like feeling them? And with whom? Whatever it was, it only strengthened my decision to find out about the paternity of my two children. Then I remembered that it was because Josh used rubber bands when he slept with Heather that Carla realized that Josh was cheating on her. I was still planning on getting tested. If you don't already have spermicide, I'll use the condoms I bought today. I don't have it, but I'll buy it tomorrow and make an appointment with the doctor about the diaphragm. I don't want you to have a vasectomy. I want to keep this option open in case you ever change your mind. I left the rubber band and climbed onto the bed. We had sex. After we finished it, I went to the bathroom. When I returned to the bed, Heather was lying on her side, sleeping. It was time to go down to the basement and check the tape recorder. A couple of unimportant calls and then, "Hello? Good morning, honey. Do you miss me? Of course you know. Shall we have lunch today? Yes, but I think our lunch meetings will end soon if we don't find somewhere cheaper. These motel rooms are killing my family budget. I can't keep pulling out of it. Sooner or later I won't have enough money to feed my family, and I will understand why. I'll try to think of something. On Wednesday evening, this one," and here he used obscene language, referring to Carla, "had a card party. Have you already figured out how to get out of the house?" "Not yet, but I'm working on it. I'll cross my fingers. I need more from you than I get in a 45-minute lunch break." "Me too, my love. We'll talk tomorrow?" "Certainly. Bye." "Bye, baby." I almost puked when I realized I was with Heather after she let Josh use her this afternoon, but I managed to hold on. I found it interesting that my unfaithful wife not only cheated on me, but also paid for the room. Yes. And how will Carla react when she hears her husband call her? The only thing I knew for sure as I walked up the basement steps was that Heather wouldn't be able to leave the house on Wednesday night. On Tuesday, when I got to work, I took my phone out of my desk drawer and called Carla, and when she answered, I said, "Good morning." "Listen," I said, holding the recorder up to the phone and pressing the play button. After listening to the recording and hearing curses addressed to her, she said, "When the time comes, I will kill this bastard." "Yeah, about Wednesday. What are you going to do?" "I think I'll have to work late on Wednesday, but I won't let her know until it's time to finish work. She doesn't have enough time to call a nanny. Did you hear that Heather pays for the room? This doesn't surprise me. Josh has always been cheap. I think if you're going to work late, I'll skip my card night and we can meet. I'll call you tomorrow and arrange everything. At breakfast on Wednesday, Heather asked me if I had plans for the evening. I said no and asked what was wrong. The girls from work were talking about having a couple of drinks after work and chatting. I can't do this if you don't look after the kids. It's not a problem. I kissed her and went to work. I went to the Marriott, rented a room, and when I got to work, I called Carla. Heather finishes work at 5, so I called her at 4:40 and told her I would be late at work. There are some issues with Henderson's contract that need to be resolved before Nathan goes to meet them tomorrow morning. Sorry for the late warning, but I really can't leave now. So don't wait for me. Love you. Bye. Pleasantly tired, I returned home by nightfall. It's a good thing Heather was already asleep, because if she had gotten up and wanted to play, I'm not sure I would have been able to handle it. For the next 5 weeks, Carla and I met on average twice a week, and we always knew in advance what Josh and Heather were doing. It was during this 5th week that Carla said, "Congratulations, Dad. How about having sex with the mother of your child?" How does Josh feel about this? He doesn't know yet. First, I needed to tell the baby's father. Now I can tell Josh. You know, I said, the only thing we didn't do was go on a weekend trip together. I think we owe it to ourselves to celebrate pregnancy just once. We just need to do it without the two of them putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with the correct answer. It's funny that you brought this up today. Josh must fly to San Diego to settle some matters with his father's estate. He's going to see some relatives this weekend before going to see his lawyer on Monday. If you can figure out how to get away for the weekend, we can go somewhere without anyone having to think about it. I think I can handle it. I took my cell phone and called my brother who lived in Akron. I asked him to call me at my house right after I left for work in the morning and tell Heather that I needed to come see him on a family matter over the weekend. I told him I would call later and explain what was happening. He said he would take care of it, and we said goodbye. I turned to Carla and said, "All we have left is to decide where we want to go." The next morning, Heather called me on my cell phone about 5 minutes after I left the house. "You need to call Bill as soon as possible. He has an urgent family matter and needs to talk to you." "I will call you." I waited until I got to work and called Bill. I told her that Brian, his son, needed a kidney transplant, and I needed to know if you would agree to donate a kidney, and if so, if you would come to check the compatibility. "So what's up?" I explained the situation to him, and he told me that I could count on his help anytime I needed it. I knew I could count on him because he hated cheating wives. He was a single father because his wife cheated on him. He kicked her out and stayed with the children when Martha died in a car accident. I called Carla, told her how everything worked out, and we agreed to go away for the weekend. I called Arrowhead Lodge and was even able to book room 130. Very fitting, I thought. At 2 o'clock, I called Heather and told her I was flying to Akron. "I'll go home and pack my things. My flight leaves at 8 and I need to be at least half an hour early to check in. I don't want to seem selfish, but I hope your kidney doesn't work. I need you to have all your parts so that we can go all the way to old age together." Damn it, Heather. The way you say it makes me think you really love me. You better not have any doubts about this, Bob. Not a bit. If only you knew, I thought, saying goodbye and hanging up. When I got home, Heather was waiting for me in what she called her fuck me costume, naked, wearing come fuck me pumps. "Do you have time to charge me while you're away?" Since I really didn't need to rush to catch a non-existent flight, I said I had time. After sex, Heather lay on the bed, and when I got dressed, she said, "On the phone you spoke as if you doubted that I loved you." "Just kidding, baby. I know very well how much you love me." "Yes, of course, you can see it every time you cheat on me with Josh," I thought. "I don't want you to ever doubt that love." Never. The weekend with Carla was grueling. We make love and go to bed. We wake up in the morning, make love, and then go to breakfast. We return to the room and make love until lunch. We'll eat, and then we'll go back to the room and make love. We go out to sit by the pool for a while, and then come back and make love. Let's go out to dinner, have a few drinks and dance, and then make love again. Repeat the next day, and then again on Monday morning. We promised each other we would do it again, and then headed home. When I got home, Heather was at work, so I went down to the basement and checked the tape recorder. First, Bill called on Friday morning. A couple of minutes after she hung up, Josh called her. "Have you figured out how to free yourself for the weekend? I would love to spend a couple of days with you without interruption." "No, Josh. I couldn't come up with anything, and the truth is that I don't want to come up with anything." "What's the matter?" "Why?" "You know, I felt guilty for what I was doing. I love Bob, and he deserves better than to have a cheating wife. I was going to tell you it's over. I need to devote myself to Bob." "Come on, Heather, you've been making love to me for almost a year now. How could you do this if you love him as much as you say? First of all, I need to correct you. I've never made love to you. I had sex with you, but I never made love to you. The only man I make love to is Bob." "Bullshit!" "No, Josh, it's not bullshit. I love this man and try to show him that I love him every chance I get. If you love him so much, then why are you sleeping with me?" Excitement about it. The thrill of doing something illegal and forbidden. It was a big thrill for me to go home and make love to Bob after I fucked you. It gave me some huge releases. Giving him a few wet seconds turned you on? If so, why not continue? I never gave him wet seconds. I was always pure when I made love to him. Bullshit, Heather. You've never showered before leaving a motel. I keep a travel bag at work, and it contains everything I need for a shower. Bob never even came close to feeling the slightest trace of you. No, Josh, I'll end this before we get caught. I love Bob and don't want to lose him. Just be glad you got me drunk the first time. Maybe so, but you weren't drunk all the other times. It all depends on what you mean by drunk. I was drunk with the excitement of making love to Bob after you fucked me. I wanted to see if there would be a thrill and excitement if I did it sober, so I let you do it a second time, and that was the only reason I kept doing it. We got away with it for a little over a year, but I just realized that the feeling I have for Bob after being with you is not worth what it will cost me if we get caught and I lose Bob. Have fun in California, Josh, and when you get home, don't call me. Bye. Interesting, I thought, taking out the film and inserting a new one. I unpacked my things and went to work. Around 11, I called Carla, and when I said hi, she said, "I miss you. Is everything okay? You are sexy. Yes. I want you to listen to something. If this is a Friday telephone conversation, then I have already heard it." "What do you think?" "It looks like she started to think with her head and realized that she could lose you." "What are you going to do?" "I've already decided that I'll only stay with her until the kids turn 18, and I don't see anything that would make me change my mind." If she meant what she said to Josh, it would be easier for her to hold on. But the trust was gone. Even if she breaks up with Josh and they never meet again, how do I know that somewhere down the road, she won't start missing the thrill and excitement of cheating and hook up with some new guy? You can always hit her with, "If you're really done with Josh, maybe we can move on, but you won't get a second chance." No, I cannot. This would give away the information that I have a wiretap on my phone, and, as I said, the trust was gone. I need a way to keep track of what she's up to. Besides, she knows me and understands that if I knew, I would share it with you. She could say this to Josh, and it would make him think, and we don't want that. Is this your roundabout way of saying we'll keep going like this? You heard the conversation. They got away with it for a little over a year, but you and I only got away with it for a couple of months. They owe us another 10 or 12 months. And then, of course, there are penalties and interest that could make it even longer. I would like that. Carla and I continued to see each other on average twice a week until her 7th month. She wanted to continue, but her belly was so big that I couldn't make love to her without hurting her. That's right. We need to take care of babies. An ultrasound showed that Carla was having twins. She gave birth to 2 beautiful little girls. As she predicted, Josh wanted a son. So 2 years after the twins were born, she became pregnant again. And this time an ultrasound showed it was a boy. We made love until her 8th month, and then we separated. We both felt like we'd gotten away with it long enough that if we got caught, Carla would be a single mother with 3 kids to raise, and neither of us wanted that. As Carla put it the last time we were together, the goal was to take revenge on the deceiver by giving him other people's children to raise. To do this, I need to stay married to him. Josh got a promotion that required him to move, and I haven't seen or spoken to Carla since they moved, but I think about her often and fondly. It's been 6 years, and as far as I know, at least based on the phone wiretapping, Heather hasn't contacted anyone else. On the other hand, she and Josh had been doing what they were doing for over a year, and I had no idea. She might wise up and stop using her house phone for illicit communications, but I've been keeping a close eye on her and have yet to see anything that would indicate that. She's doing her best to spoil the hell out of me, and I'm critically rethinking my plan to leave her when the kids turn 18. That will be another 4 years for Mike and 5 for Anna. I'll just wait and see.